All right, welcome to the Flag Football Officials preseason video. We've completed scrimmages now, and I'd like to go over some observations and specifically some mechanics as we get the season started here this week. So as a reminder, this is what the field setup looks like when we get out to our host sites. They should have fields either lined or using cones to cone it off, especially if it's a turf field. We do have the teams on different sides of the field, and that team box is inside the 10-yard lines. The schools have been told that they're supposed to have the team box marked, but make sure there's either a cone or a line, something keeping the team boxes in place in between the 10-yard lines. So we don't want players and coaches getting down inside the 10, inside the 5. Keep them inside of their team box. During the pregame, some fields will be painted. Others may just be using cones if they're on turf. So please go familiarize yourself with all the field lines. Officials should arrive on site at least 30 minutes prior to the game and take the field at least 15 minutes prior to the game. When you get onto the field, line judge, make sure you find your down box and your down box operator. The schools have been told that they need to have a down box for each field as well as an operator. That may be a volunteer. We really want that to be an adult if possible. But the line judges, please give instructions to that down box operator that they're to stay with you the entire game. They're marking the line of scrimmage, and that they should not move that down box until we spot the ball for the next play, right? So we need that previous spot in case we need to have an incompletion or have a penalty we have to enforce from there. And certainly if there is a penalty flag on the play, they should not move. So please make those instructions at the beginning of the game. Then make sure we do a team equipment check. So shirts and jerseys need to be tucked into their shorts. They would need to have a flag on each hip. Make sure those flags are not obstructed. No pockets. All players need to have a mouth guard. And we had a lot of jewelry during the scrimmages. Make sure we get all of that jewelry off. I'm sending an email to the coaches and ADs again this week, reminding them of that. Even if a player has, piercings or studs or earrings that they say they cannot take off, they cannot play with those in. So we need to make sure we catch jewelry. All right, we saw a lot of flag guarding during the scrimmages, and I think we're going to continue to see that as our players are really learning the game of flag football. So again, some indicators to look for on flag guarding are shoulder dipping, carrying the ball low, even if it's in a normal running motion, hand swatting, stiff arms. When players spin and have a hand down below their waist, oftentimes they flag guard. And just when you're running through crowds, oftentimes if you have your hands down, you can be swatting some arms as you go through. And then as a reminder, in this rule set, the runner cannot leave their feet to avoid a flagpole. They also can't leave their feet to advance the ball, so they can't dive into the end zone with the ball. Leaving their feet would be considered flag guarding. The referees and opposite wing officials can help with flag guarding. So even if the player is, a ways downfield, if that flag guard happens on the inside arm, a referee or, either the line judge or field judge on the opposite side may have the best view of that. So we may have to reach out a little further than what we think in our primary areas to get flag guarding calls, especially. And remember, we're looking for contact. We need to have contact to have a flag guard. So if the runner has their arm and is carrying the ball down below their waist, covering their flags, that is not a penalty until a defender is trying to pull their flags and they make contact with them. The only exceptions to that for flag guarding is the ball carrier leaving the feet, or if the flags are obstructed prior to the play, right? So if we notice that a player has their shirt untucked, it's covering their flags before the play, and they end up getting the ball, and the defenders can't get to their flags, that's when we would have obstruction and flag guarding. So if we see players that have their shirts untucked, tell them to tuck their shirts in before the snap. All right, we saw a lot of blocking and screening potentially happening during the scrimmages. So as a reminder, There is no blocking, there is no screening allowed at any time. In the rule book, it says that offensive players without the ball must stop moving once the ball has crossed the line of scrimmage, and they cannot run with the ball carrier. So this is a penalty for blocking or screening or running with the ball. They're all the illegal contact signal, 10 yards loss of down. Now, the interpretation that I've shared with the coaches and ADs and have shared with you during the rules clinics is, we're not going to throw a flag every time an offensive player moves downfield because we would have flags on the ground almost every play. What we're looking for is offensive players' movements that either creates contact with the defender or causes the defender to go around them, right? So if an offensive player moves into a defender or their movement causes the defender to go around, so it impacts the defender from getting to the ball carrier, we should have a flag on the ground. Now, if they just stop, the offensive player just stops, they're allowed that spot on the field. So we're looking for that movement that is causing either a block, a screen, or some way is impacting the path of the defender. Get the obvious calls here. All right, blitzers, they do have to identify. So some teams were struggling with that. They do have to, each blitzer has to raise their hand and identify themselves prior to the snap. They need to make this clear, right? So there's not necessarily a time frame where they have to hold it up for multiple seconds, but they have to raise their hand and clearly identify themselves so that the officials know who the blitzers are and the offense knows who the blitzers are. Again, they can have up to two per play. All right, let's talk about pro clock mechanics. So we know that under 2 minutes in the second half only, we're going to the pro clock. So the pro clock means it's stop clock procedures, right? So as a reminder, once we get under 2 minutes, the clock is going to stop, and the field judge has the watch, has the clock. Clock's going to stop for first downs, penalties, change of possession, out of bounds, pass or fumble striking the ground, after a score, timeout, injury, any of those scenarios. We are going to simplify it in this rule set. We are starting the clock on the snap in all of these cases. So even a first down, inbounds, we're starting the clock on the snap. Once we get under 2 minutes, all officials, we need to be using stop clock signals. So any of these things happen, ball goes out of bounds to your sideline, or we have a first down. We need to be coming up with our stop clock signal above our head. And then under 2 minutes, the field judge, we need you to be loud. Every single play under 2 minutes, we need to announce how much time is left on the clock and the status of the clock, whether it is running or on the snap. So please be loud. The coaches, the players will want to know what the time is, and there is no visible clock. So every single play under 2 minutes, we need to be giving a time update. And throughout the rest of the game, every 4 or 5 minutes, please be given time updates so everybody's aware of the clock. All right, we didn't see a lot of impeding the blitzer during the scrimmages, at least that I saw. But remember, the offense cannot impede the blitzer in any way. So the blitzer, once they declare themselves prior to the snap, they're allowed a clear path to the quarterback, regardless of where they line up. The offensive players cannot move to disrupt that blitzer's path. So a lot of times you'll see an offensive player running a pass route over the middle. If they run a pass route over the middle or in the backfield, and that causes the blitzer to stop or change their path, that is impeding the blitzer. Certainly, if we have contact by the offensive player, now we have blocking or illegal contact. But impeding the blitzer can take place without contact. Now, remember that center, oftentimes it's going to be the center who could be moving to do this. If they just snap the ball and they stay put, they have right of place. They can do that. The blitzer has to go around them. But if they move at all, they can't be moving into the blitzer's path. And then we had a few roughing the passer plays. So remember, the defense can jump up to block a pass. If the pass has been released from the quarterback and the defender blocks it, that's completely legal. But if the ball is still in the quarterback's hand and the defender makes contact either with the ball or with the arm or the quarterback's body, aside from going for the flags, we have roughing the passer. Any contact on the arm of the passer, we have roughing the passer. So let's make sure that we are protecting our quarterbacks. All right, let's talk some penalty enforcement. So as another reminder, we are not using the penalty enforcement that is in the USA rules, right? We have adapted that. I have shared that with you. So that's what we're going over here. On the back of your scorecards that I shared has the correct penalty enforcement for what we're using for this league. We are basing this on the same principles we used for tackle football. So we have our loose ball plays and our running plays. So a loose ball play is action during the legal forward pass or fumble made from behind the line of scrimmage. That includes anything that happens before that loose ball. Our running play is any action that's not a loose ball play, right? So we need to know when we throw a flag whether that was during a loose ball or during a running play, all right? And then our enforcement spots are based on what type of play we had. So the previous spot, which is the previous line of scrimmage, that's our basic spot for loose ball fouls. Succeeding spot, that's for all dead ball fouls. That's where we're next going to snap the ball. Our end of the runs, the basic spot for running plays. And the spot of the foul is our enforcement spot when we have an offensive foul that is essentially behind the end of the run on the running play, our all but one principle. So let's make sure that we know these enforcement spots. It's primarily the same as tackle football. The only exception is our new tackle football rule, where if it's we have an offensive penalty behind the line of scrimmage, we go to the line of scrimmage. We don't have that here in tackle. So if we have an offensive foul, flag guarding behind the line of scrimmage, and the end of the run is beyond the foul, that is a spot foul, all but one principle, and we're going to enforce it from where the foul happened. So remember, this is on the back of your scorecards. I highly encourage you to use the scorecards, have them in your pocket, refer to them as needed. Now, hopefully we start to pick these up, right? Most of your contact fouls, with the exception of flag guarding, are going to be 10 yards. And just about everything includes a lofted down or an automatic first down. The only ones that don't are illegal rushes, illegal signals, illegal flagpole, and our 5-yard dead ball fouls pre-snap, such as delay of game, substitution, and offsides false start. Everything else has a loss of down or an automatic first down included. And then we saw a lot of flags being thrown during the scrimmages, but then we didn't quite know what to do after that. So just like any other football, our calling official, when you throw a flag on the play, we need to continue officiating if it's a live ball foul, right? If it's a live ball foul, it's a flag guard, it's a illegal contact, anything like that happens during the play, throw your flag, keep officiating. When the play is over, double toot your whistle and come to your referee, tell your referee what you have. What's the foul? Who was it on? Is it live ball or dead ball? Where it happened? And talk through the enforcement. Too often we were throwing flags and then just not doing anything at the end of the play, and the referee's wondering what happened. So if you throw a flag on the play is over with, go to your referee. And if we're under 2 minutes in the second half, we need to be killing the clock. Our referees, make sure we are giving an announcement, right? So our referees, we want to get that report. You can give a preliminary signal. We're going to give that to the line judge side of the field. Or if we have a press box side, give it to the press box side. And then we're going to walk off that penalty, spot the ball, and then go ahead and give your full announcement, right? So who was the foul on? What's the foul? What's the yardage? And what's the enforcement? Oh, and it is important. So our non-calling officials, right? So if the line judge throws a flag, the field judge, we need to make sure that we're keeping that dead ball spot wherever the end of the run was, right? Because depending on what the flag is, we might be enforcing it from that end of the run, or it might get declined and we are going to the end of the run. So make sure we're not losing that dead ball spot. And line judges, we should be telling our down box not to move until we spot the ball for the next play. All right, let's talk mechanics. So this is our basic 3-person positioning. It's what we talked about in the rules clinic. Our referee, 7 yards deep and 7 yards wide of the quarterback, right? The quarterback is whoever's in position to receive the snap. And you're on the same side as the field judge. Our line judge is on the line of scrimmage, on the sideline, right? We're straddling the line of scrimmage on the sideline. You have responsibility all the way down the line of scrimmage, and the down box will be positioned right behind you. Field judge, you're at the rush line. So 7 yards downfield every play, 7 yards downfield, and you're lining this defender up or the multiple defenders up that they're the blitzers. Let's talk about pre-snap. The referee, we're spotting the ball, blowing the ready for play whistle. We have that 30-second play clock, and then we're helping with pre-snap motions or shifts or fouls, false starts that happen in the backfield. And we're also responsible for counting offensive players. Line judge, we have everything down the line of scrimmage. So offsides, false starts, all of that's us. We also want to count offensive players, and we're responsible for the motions, right? Legal motion. We need to identify the blitzer as well, because since we're on the line of scrimmage, we need to know who's allowed to cross the line of scrimmage. Field judge, we're lining up the blitzers, right? So we're making sure the blitzers are identifying and they're behind the 7-yard mark. We're counting the defensive players, and we're maintaining the game clock. Once the ball is snapped, these are our primary coverage areas. Our referee has just about everything in the backfield, right? So we're watching the quarterback, we're watching the blitzers, any potential blocking on the blitzer or impeding the rusher. The referee is going to have the primaries on those. They have the 7-second clock, so we're counting with a visible signal for 7 seconds. And then we do have some sideline coverage back here if the quarterback rolls out to our side. But we're moving with the quarterback. Quarterback rolls to the left. We want to roll to the left and maintain that 7 and 7. Our line judge, we're also watching that initial blitz and potential blocking, impeding the rusher. And we have the line of scrimmage. So we need to rule if the quarterback directly runs across. Obviously, we'd have a foul there. Or if any of the defenders that were not the blitzers come across the line of scrimmage, we'd have a foul there. We have our sideline all the way down the field, and we are helping with, we're going to watch short passes across the field, as well as if we have deeper passes down our third, we'll help with that as well. Field judge, you have a lot of area to cover, right? You've got pretty much everything deep down the field, and you're 2/3 of the field. You have the sideline from the line of scrimmage down. You also are going to have responsibility most of the time for the zone line to gain, the goal line, and the end line. When we get spots downfield, normally our field judge is ahead of the play. So the field judge is ahead of the play and should be getting a lot of spots. They're more than a couple yards downfield. Our line judge is trailing the play, right? So when the ball is snapped, the line judge is staying put on the line of scrimmage. Once the ball crosses the line of scrimmage, line judge can release downfield and is trailing the play. So spots, the first 5 to 7 yards, a lot of times the line judge is probably going to end up with the spot. Further than that, a lot of times the field judge will end up with the spot. Our referees can help with spots behind the line of scrimmage. Let's talk about some specific scenarios. So we're looking at scrimmages. We kind of tested a few different mechanics here, and I think this is what's going to set us up best for success. So again, in 3-person mechanics, we have a lot of lines we have to worry about. We have the line of scrimmage, we have the rush line, and then of course we have goal lines, end lines. So we have a lot of different lines to cover, and we've only got 2 officials on the wings that can really cover any line. So we're giving something up somewhere. For goal line coverage, so going into the goal line, once we get inside 7 yards, that means our field judge, when they're lining up for the rush line, is either at the goal line or in the end zone. Once we get to that point, field judge and line judge need to be communicating who has the goal line. Once the field judge is starting in the end zone, at the snap, we want the field judge to move directly to the end line, the line judge to move directly to the goal line. The line judge will be responsible for the goal line, field judge responsible for the end line. All right, but we need to make sure we're communicating this to know who is getting to what lines. Yes, we are giving up the line of scrimmage to the line judge. So the referee needs to help with the line of scrimmage, and the line judge still needs to help with the line of scrimmage. But the goal line is too important to leave on, and end line is too important to leave uncovered. So as soon as the ball snapped inside the 7 yards, line judge to goal line, field judge to end line. Make sure that we're talking and communicating that. Outside the 7 yard line. So we're at the 10 here on this graphic. When we're outside the 7 yard line, the field judge is going to have goal line responsibility. Field judge is also going to have end line responsibility. All right, so this is a difficult piece here. So at the field judge, once the ball is snapped, we want to work to the goal line, and then if we have a deep pass, we have to read the pass. And if we have a deep pass that's pushing towards the end line, we want to come off the goal line and get to that end line to rule on the end line. But in this case, when we're outside 7 yards, our field judge is going to have goal line responsibility, and we'll have to get to the end line for end line responsibility as well. All right, so let's go the other way. So now we're coming out. So this is starting at the 5 yard line. Obviously, this happens a lot. Every new series, except after an interception, starts at the 5. We're trying to avoid going into reverse mechanics if we can, because we're giving up the line of scrimmage. So unless the quarterback starts way in the end zone here, we want the referee to start on the goal line. That may mean you need to widen out, but we want the referee to be on the goal line to rule on the goal line. Okay. The line judge and the field judge will have their normal mechanics here in this case. So the referee is responsible for the goal line and would be responsible for the end line if needed. Once we're inside the 5, and this won't happen a lot, right? But once we're inside the 5, so in this case, we're at about the 3 yard line coming out. In this case, we go into reverse mechanics. We need to communicate with each other. The referee starts on the end line, and the line judge at the snap will move backwards to the goal line. We have to cover the goal line, right? Most important line on the field. So things that can happen, right, is quarterback gets sacked. We need to know where the ball was when the flags are pulled. Or if the ball hits the ground on the snap, if it's in the end zone, we have a safety. All right, let's talk about the line to gain at midfield. Right, so that's another important line on the field. This is just a normal play. Balls at about the 15 yard line. Our field judge is going to have primary responsibility for ruling if we have a first down in midfield. So in this case, the referee is going to have goal line and the back end line. Field judge is going to have midfield, and then if we have a long play, they will have to get down to the far goal line. But the field judge is primarily responsible for the zone line to gain. So they should be coming out if there's a play close to that line, whether it's short or whether it's a first down. We need a good hard sell. First down, or short. We need to sell whether or not we have a first down or we're short of that line. So let's be strong in those calls because it matters. Now let's talk about a short line to gain. So in this play, the ball is maybe at the 20 yard line. We've got 4 or 5 yards to get to midfield, something like that. Maybe 3 yards to get to midfield. In this case, when we have a short first down at midfield, our line judge can start to take responsibility. Now, this takes communication between our line judge and our field judge. All right. On 3rd and 4th down only. So if it's 3rd and 4th down, and it's 5 yards or less to get to midfield, our line judge at the snap should move to midfield because we need to know if they get a first down, right? So we need to be communicating this. So line judge, if we're in a short first down here, we should be saying my line to the field judge. Or if not, then the field judge should be saying my line if it's their responsibility. But once you take responsibility of the line, we need to be at that line when the ball crosses, right? So a line judge, that means that you need to move to the midfield line at the snap and then officiate backwards. All right, game start this weekend. Thank you all for your attitude and effort. Let me know if you have questions. I will see you out on the sites. Thank you. Have a great start to the season.